What's going on, guys? I'm back with a slightly different video. As some of you might know, my day job is repairing electronics, mostly consoles, laptop motherboards, mobile phones, and general all-round hardware repairs, including board repairs. Now, the most common current-gen console I see for repairs is the PlayStation 5, and oh boy, is it a doozy. Now, don't get me wrong, the PlayStation 5 is a nice machine. I don't want this to be misconstrued as some Sony bashing video, which it isn't. It's just that the PlayStation 5 has some, in my opinion, major issues. Firstly, the most annoying issue is the HDMI encoder. Well, what could be bad about that, you say? Data goes in, image comes out, right? Well, the chip is 100% under NDA, meaning Panasonic, now Nuvoton, they took over this division from Panasonic. They custom rolled this chip for Sony. I actually contacted Nuvoton directly and confirm this, and yep, I can't buy them. Now, nothing inherently wrong with that. However, there's very little ESD protection externally for this chip. Let me try and explain. Now, normally from what I understand is the non-high speed channels, and I'll put a diagram up here to help explain. The differential pairs, in this case going from the HDMI controller to the port, should have a bunch of what called TVS diodes. From how I understand it, they dump any higher transient voltages that would damage the ICs on those lines directly to ground. So they kind of just help when needed, and they're sort of not doing much else when they're not needed. In fact, the Xbox Series X has this, which it should, because you'd assume the HDMI standards would require transient protection. However, let's see what the PS5 has.
Clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yep, nothing. All it has is some chokes for filtering, that's about it. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, so what? Let me circle back to the little conversation that I had with Nuvoton. Now, to clarify, I put in a sales request to buy 1,000 pieces of the chip. So not a huge order, not a small order, enough to, get their attention, not just write it off. Now, because the ESD protection on this chip, and I would hope is just internalized on this chip that is fully proprietary, you can't buy it. What happens when it fails? And it does, especially out of warranty. What are you going to do? That's right, buy an Xbox. Nah, I'm just kidding. You're going to have to rely on the luck of the draw with factory rejects from China, which is the current only option, and I think about 80% of them work, but some have issues, so this kind of just comes across as anti-consumer. You have essentially a part with a high likelihood of failure that you can't buy, and turns the product into a brick when it does fail. So there's number one on the list. Speaking of custom chips that brick things, I've started seeing more and more dead, or quote-unquote dead PS5s come in. This time not from HDMI encoders. No, faulty PCIe SSD controllers. Yay! Copyright. You guessed it. Sony went with a custom NDA-infused SSD controller. And due to the console's design, the M.2 port, the expandable storage for the console, also won't work without this chip. All you get is a PS5 that doesn't fully boot. I'm starting to like how kind of lazy Microsoft have been and just mostly use off-the-shelf parts. They have their own custom-rolled stuff as well, but not as much as Sony. Now, these aren't so much anti-consumer design, just, I think, terrible oversight, or maybe planned obsolescence, maybe? Don't quote me on that. And last but not least, the hotspot issue. Luckily, this is something anyone with a screwdriver and a fistful of indium can fix. You see, the PlayStation 5 uses a liquid thermal interface material. Everyone's probably seen it if you're into consoles and things. It's a mix of metals that are liquid at room temperature. You see, liquids and gravity kind of like each other. They really want to get together. So when you have a PS5, and it's vertical, one of those nifty stands you can have, over time the liquid metal seeps down off the die, and it kind of just pools there in a little dip in the machined heatsink. There's like a little dip on each side, but it all gravitates towards the bottom. That's what gravity does. What this causes is dry spots on the processor, leading to hot spots. Usually, this just causes the unit to overheat and turn off. No harm done, right? Yeah, but it shouldn't be happening in the first place. Also, these hotspots can damage certain areas of the CPU. The fix is pretty simple actually. Firstly, use the console on its side. I know that sounds silly, it's more of an Apple you're using it wrong kind of statement, but this also prevents it getting knocked over and damaging the HDMI port, which is its own issue on its own. It's a very fragile part, and because Sony have to use lead-free solder, it's not very strong. Basically, you strip the console down, remove the motherboard, then using a plastic card, scoop the liquid metal back onto the heatsink. Usually the liquid metal will mostly be pulled on the heatsink side, not on the die, or not on the processor, so you don't need to touch the processor at all, so it's a pretty safe procedure to do. You could add more liquid metal if you wanted, but I've never needed to. So, there you go. There's my list of common issues I've seen with the PlayStation 5. If you want to see more videos like this, it's a bit different, just let me know down below. Any other topics related to repairs. I've been doing this for a long time, so if you want to know anything, just let me know. Till next time, see ya. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell and all that stuff. Anyway, see ya.
Oh, he's like that guy from The Matrix. He's got metal on his fingers. Yeah.